Good evening. It is Monday, October 19th, 2020, coming to you live from the new and improved Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamm, and we're live streaming on YouTube. We are on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com, and please check out the webpage, lambsports.com. You can find links to all the past shows and the current trivia question on there. It has been a busy day. In sports, believe it or not, there are two football games that happened today. One is currently going on and one that was played earlier. And we're going to bring you up to date on all of that and more. Watching currently the Cowboys and the Cardinals playing in Dallas. The Cardinals ahead 21-3 in the third quarter with the football. Two early Ezekiel Elliott fumbles led to two Cardinal touchdowns in the first half. It is 21-3, 12 minutes to go, third quarter. So, as always, the first part of our show is brought to you by The Range in Yakima. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting facility. At 34,000 square feet, The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail firearm sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services, all under one roof. Open Tuesday through Sunday from 11 to 7. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima, Washington. The phone number, 509-571-1449. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So, NFL football wrapping up week 6 as we speak. Again, Cardinals 21-3 lead over the Cowboys, about 11.5 to go in the third quarter. And there was the postponed game earlier, the Kansas City Buffalo game, the postponed game that should have been played earlier in the week, but got played at 2 o'clock in the afternoon this afternoon when no one could possibly watch it unless you're working from home, I guess, which is most of America. So I did actually watch the game, and it was played in a downpour. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But first, I want to get to tonight's trivia question. Trivia question, as always, is brought to you by Stave & Stone Wine Estates in Hood River, with 2 tasting rooms to choose from: the Vineyard at 3827 Fletcher Drive and downtown Hood River at 210 Oak Street. Go to staveandstone.com. Check out their gift baskets, perfect for the wine lover in your family. For more information, call 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. Or email them at info@staveandstone.com. Stave & Stone, wines with personality. All right, so the trivia question is college football related. We are coming to Pac-12 football shortly. In another, it's November 6th, I think, is the first Pac-12 football. This weekend, as a matter of fact, the Big Ten starts playing football again. So there'll be more football to choose from. I decided to go into the University of Oregon bag to pull out a trivia question. And here it is. In 2014, the University of Oregon's Marcus Mariota had one of the most prolific seasons in college football history, throwing for 4,454 yards, rushing for 770 yards, to total 5,224 yards from scrimmage. Only one person in Pac-12 history has more yards from scrimmage in one season. I want to know, who was it, and in what year did he do it? So, who is the all-time leader for single season yards from scrimmage in Pac-12 history? And we'll tell you the answer at the end of the show. So, a lot of exciting football games over the weekend. If you weren't watching, you should have been. The Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans played, and that game went into overtime, and a Derrick Henry score late in overtime led to the 42-36 Tennessee win. They are 5-0, off to their best start. It's been a long time since Tennessee was 5-0. Houston, who I thought at the beginning of the year was a team that was going to have to be reckoned with, is now 1-5. Deshaun Watson looked good in this game. 28 of 37, 335 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, only sacked twice. He had a great rating. And problem was Derrick Henry. 22 carries, 212 yards, 9.6 yards a carry, with a 94-yard long and 2 touchdowns. Tennessee as a team averaged 9.7 yards a carry. So, and rushed for 263 yards. If you got an NFL team rushing for 263 yards, it is really hard to beat them. Ryan Tannehill, 30 of 41 for 364 yards, 4 touchdowns, did have 1 interception. But clearly, the Titans are a team to be reckoned with. And at 5-0, I would tell you right now, I like Kansas City. I think Tennessee's a more complete team. When Derrick Henry is running the football team and he is pounding defenses into submission, I don't know that there's a better team than Tennessee Titans right now. Home or away, doesn't matter. They seem to win everywhere. And this was a test by Houston and a good offense. And Deshaun Watson's a mobile quarterback who can do lots of things. And that's a great preview of them versus, say, Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson at Baltimore. Tennessee is in my book going to be in the AFC Championship game again, and I think that they have a really good chance to win. Anyway, Titans win 42-36 over the Texans. Another interesting game that, if you didn't see it, the Dolphins win in shutout fashion, which doesn't happen very often, by the way. The Dolphins win in shutout fashion, 24-0 over the Jets, and Tua Tagovailoa throws his first couple of NFL passes as he gets put in mop-up duty late in this game after they pulled out Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I'll tell you, he looked good, but again, it was late in the game, and 2 of 2, 9 yards. They're short passes. It's going to be a while before he takes over. Ryan Fitzpatrick has this team headed in the right direction at 3-3. Now, granted, this is the Jets, and you can say what you want. The Jets are 0-6 and might be, tanking for Trevor at this point, or I would think they would be. If anybody does that, I mean, the NFL says no, and you listen to all the teams tell you that's ridiculous. Nobody wants to tank, and nobody wants to lose on purpose. I'm a firm believer that if you started the season 0-6, and you have a chance to get Trevor Lawrence, and part of your problem was Sam Darnold, that maybe, just maybe, that's the right course of action, even though it's morally wrong. Ryan Fitzpatrick in this one was 18 of 27, 191 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Not great. Myles Gaskin had 91 yards on 18 carries for the Dolphins. They did what they needed to do, and that was just not lose the game, because New York, the Jets are not going to beat you. They're not going to come out and do anything exciting. The Jets rushed for 186 yards. Or, I'm sorry, let's back up. The Jets rushed for 115 yards. Frank Gore, 11 carries, 46 yards. Frank Gore is 40 years old, and he's their leading rusher on their team. And Joe Flacco, who was a former Super Bowl MVP, and he's 21 of 44, 186 yards with 1 interception. His average per attempt is 4.2 yards. It's terrible. His quarterback rating of 11 is also awful. Their team as a whole just could not do anything. They could not move the football. It wasn't necessarily turnovers. It wasn't necessarily anything. There were no fumbles in the football game. But anyway, the Dolphins pitching a shutout. Tua gets his first couple of completions. Looked mobile, looked agile. I think it'll take some time. We'll see when he takes a couple of good shots, and see how his hip and or leg hold up in the long run for Miami. But right now, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick's team. They are 3-3, and watch out for the Dolphins at this point. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be fantastic, but with Buffalo's loss earlier today, which we're going to talk about later, they're in a pretty good position right now. I'm not saying they're anywhere near as good as Buffalo, but I'm just saying that there's a chance. I'm saying there's a chance. And as far as other games this week go, Denver 18-12 winner over the Patriots, and that was all Brandon McManus. 6 Brandon McManus field goals and a Denver defense that played lights out, and they beat the New England Patriots 18-12. The Atlanta Falcons found a way to get a win. Atlanta beats Minnesota 40-23. They erupted for 40 points, 40-23 over Minnesota in Minnesota to get their first win of the year. And both those teams are 1-5. They're They're not good. Atlanta has not played well. They look offensively, they look fantastic in this game, but they have enough weapons where they should look fantastic every week. Indianapolis and Cincinnati played. Joe Burrow still looking for his first win as a quarterback in the NFL, and he didn't get it. They had the lead in this one, and they were ahead 27-21 in the third, at the end of the third, and then gave up 10 points. Phillip Rivers brought them back. It was 24-7 about halfway through the second quarter. Phillip Rivers throws 3 touchdown passes from there out and looked like a totally different player than he had either in the first half of this game or in the last game. And they came back to win. Rodrigo Blankenship kicking the field goal that kind of iced it, made it a 4-point lead with 4:03 to go in the fourth quarter. Joe Burrow, 25 of 39, 313 yards and an interception. He's struggling. This is what happens when you get drafted number 1. You are on a team that did not do very well the year before. And if they haven't made all of the necessary adjustments and acquired all of the parts and pieces to make themselves successful this year, the addition of a rookie quarterback usually isn't the difference. So, not saying that, he's not going to be good, but in this game, Phillip Rivers, who the veteran, 29 of 44, 371 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception, looked better. He just looked like the old Phillip Rivers you used to see in LA, San Diego, and they looked like a better team in this one. So final score 31-27. Colts are 4-2, and the Bengals fall to I'm sorry, the Bengals are 1-4-1. The Bengals do have a win. I apologize to Joe Burrow because I'm sure he's listening. How about the Giants? The Giants found a way to win 20-19 over the Redskins. They're 1-5. The Redskins are 1-5. The Eagles are 1-4-1. And if the Cowboys lose this game, they're going to be 2-4 and in first place in the NFC East. How dismal is that division? It was an ugly football game between Washington and the Giants. Neither team is good, let's just say. And it was good to see that New York got a win. I'm not a huge fan of anybody going winless for a season. That is a dismal year. But all of these teams in the NFC East have been outscored, and outscored rather handily, with the exception of Dallas, who is getting outscored now, and now down 28-3, 6.5 to go in the third. This one looks like it's getting out of hand quickly for Andy Dalton and the Cowboys. And they're now having to throw, and Arizona knows they're going to throw, and there are dropped passes, and there are fumbles, and Dallas just does not look good right now. Also this weekend, as I mentioned before, Baltimore beat Philadelphia, and that was a comeback almost for Carson Wentz. He engineered a comeback, 22 fourth quarter points by Philadelphia. They had a chance. They scored with 1:55 to go, and they went for a 2-point conversion that was blown up. It was just blown up by the Baltimore defense. 2 men in the backfield at the mesh point. It looked like a read option for Carson Wentz, and his running back couldn't get out of the way. He couldn't give it to the running back. He couldn't keep it. It didn't matter what he did. He was going down. And they lose the game 30-28 to the Ravens. Justin Tucker with 3 field goals in this one, and Lamar Jackson with 9 carries for 108 yards and a touchdown, 16 of 27, 186 yards, throws another touchdown. They're a good team. Baltimore is 5-1, with the exception of that loss to Kansas City where they got crushed. They have been pretty good. This was a good comeback win for them. They need to play a little better defensively. You can't give up 22 fourth quarter points and expect to win a lot of football games in the NFL. But they pull this one off 30-28. Philadelphia 1-4-1. The Baltimore Ravens are 5-1 in the AFC North, and they trail just the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers on Sunday played the Cleveland Browns. The 4-1 Cleveland Browns traveled to the 4-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Steelers laid a whooping on them, 38-7. It was not even as close as it sounded. It was 24-0 Pittsburgh before Cleveland scored with a minute one left to go in the second quarter. Rashard Higgins from Baker Mayfield, but Chase Claypool gets a 3-yard touchdown run in the third, and Benny Snell gets a 1-yard run in the fourth quarter, and it's 38-7. It was just ugly. It was never Cleveland's game to win. Ben Roethlisberger, he didn't have to do much. 14 of 22, 162 yards and a touchdown, and Pittsburgh won easily. Defense was just dominant. And Baker Mayfield looked nervous, uncomfortable, confused. They had him going every which direction, lots of pressure, forcing him to make some bad throws. He did throw 2 interceptions, 10 of 18, 119 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. I still love his commercials on TV, though. So there's that. But it was just bad football from the Cleveland Browns. So Steelers are 5-0, top of the division. Cleveland Browns 4-2. That division is loaded at the top. I don't think Cleveland's as good as those other two teams. Baltimore and Pittsburgh are better than Cleveland. I think both by a long stretch, and Pittsburgh showed it in this game. I think Cleveland has flashes at times of brilliance, and I think they've been the beneficiary of winning some easier games. And their record shows it. When they start playing these teams, the Steelers and the Ravens, it's going to get difficult for the Browns. So again, 38-7 Steelers. Also on Sunday, the Chicago Bears improved to 5-0. The Bears the Bears improved to 4-1. The Bears 5-1 beat the Carolina Panthers 23-16. It was a defensive struggle. Chicago found a way to win. I can't explain the Bears and Nick Foles. Nick Foles finds ways to win football games. He's not the best quarterback, but he is good when it matters, and he can be streaky and all of a sudden become really good. But it was Chicago's defense that made Teddy Bridgewater look uncomfortable also. He looked a lot like Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield. 16 of 29, 216 yards, 2 interceptions for Teddy Bridgewater. He did not look great. The offense for Carolina did not look great, but that was a factor of the Chicago defense, which, you're going to hold the NFL team to 16 points. You're doing all right. Nick Foles was 23 of 39, 198 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Also on Sunday, the Lions play the Jacksonville Jaguars and won on the road. I kind of expect that. Detroit won fairly easily, 34-16. Jacksonville falls to 1-5. The Lions are 2-3. Matt Stafford was mediocre, 223 yards and a touchdown, 1 pick. Gardner Minshew was mediocre, 243 yards, a touchdown, an interception. Believe it or not, Detroit's running game, which is something you haven't heard about since Barry Sanders, was the reason they won and looked good. I think DeAndre Swift had 14 carries, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looked good. They looked comfortable running the football. Detroit had 403 yards of total offense. And they beat the 1-5 Jacksonville Jaguars on the road. Green Bay, Tampa Bay. Anybody watch that game, the Green Bay, Tampa Bay game? That was 10-0 Green Bay. It was 10-0 Green Bay with 48 seconds to go in the first quarter. The whole first quarter belonged to Green Bay. They looked good. Everything looked right. And then something happened. I don't know what it was, but 4 second quarter touchdowns by Tampa Bay. One of them a pick 6 from Jamel Dean. The halftime score was 28-10. The final score is 38-10. It was 38 unanswered points by Tampa Bay. And 2 Green Bay turnovers. Green Bay had 201 total yards. Aaron Rodgers did not look comfortable doing anything in the pocket. Tampa kept getting to him. They hit him multiple times and kept knocking him down. A couple of them might even have been cheap shots. But clearly Tom Brady, and Tom Brady threw his first touchdown pass as a Buccaneer to Rob Gronkowski. They've thrown 91 touchdown passes, I think, to each other through the years, but this was the first as members of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They made it look easy after they spotted them 10 points. It was all Tampa Bay, and it was dominant. It looked really, really dominant. Tampa Bay is 4-2 in that NFC South. The Packers, who I thought looked like a Super Bowl contender right off the bat, they are 4-1. This game might just be an aberration. You're hoping, if you're a Packer fan, that this was, a blip on the radar and it's going to go away. But if anybody else can make Aaron Rodgers look that uncomfortable in the backfield, it he's going to have a long season if they can find a way. If another team can find a way to emulate what Tampa Bay did. Anyway, Tampa Bay 38-10 in that one. Last night, the Rams and the Niners from San Francisco, and the Niners win 24-16. I This was an ugly football game as well. Jared Goff looked bad most of the football game. I thought. I didn't. He didn't look like he looked comfortable. He was 19 of 38, 198 yards. Did throw 2 touchdowns, had an interception. Jimmy Garoppolo, after the dismal performance that got him benched last week, 23 of 33, 268 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Greg Kittle, 7 catches, 109 yards for a touchdown for San Francisco. But I think it was San Francisco's defense confused Jared Goff. There was a lot of that going around. There was only 1 turnover by the Rams, one interception, but it was, I thought there was a lot of confusion in a lot of backfields from a lot of quarterbacks that I don't normally see getting confused. I don't know if that's just going around. I don't know if it's lack of practice. The timing's not there. People are getting confused. I don't know exactly what's happening. I don't know why, but there were some players, Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff, and there's some guys in the backfield that were just getting confused, and it did not look right. Anyway, Niners win. They go to 3-3 in that tough NFC West. The Rams are 4-2. The Seahawks had a bye week. They're still on top. And right now, the Cardinals 28-3. Still 5 minutes 10 seconds to go in the third. 28-3. They have the ball. The Cowboys just don't look like they're able to do anything. Earlier, also today, the Chiefs and the Bills played a postponed game, shall we say, and in Buffalo in a downpour. And the Chiefs came away with a 26-17 win. The Chiefs now 5-1. The Bills are 4-2. Again, this is one of those games where I didn't see a lot of sterling play, let's say. Josh Allen was 14 of 27, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. He did not look good. Some of that was going to be rain. Anytime you're playing in a downpour. Patrick Mahomes was 21 of 26, 225 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Edwards-Helaire for Kansas City, 26 carries, 161 yards on the ground. And if you can run the ball like that, especially when it gets rainy, you have a really good chance to win. And Josh Allen was the leading rusher for Buffalo, 8 carries, 42 yards. And if your quarterback's the leading rusher and he's not Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson or someone of that nature, Cam Newton even, you're not gonna win many football games that way either. Buffalo falls at home, 4-2. Kansas City moves to 5-1. Let's get the updated standings real quick here, if I can pull them up for you and see where we're at in the NFL. So right now, AFC East, Buffalo 4-2, Miami 3-3. The New England Patriots, off to their worst start in a few years, 2-3. The Jets 0-6. Steelers in the AFC North 5-0. Ravens 5-1. The Browns are 4-2, and then there's the Bengals at 1-4-1. AFC South is the Titans at 5-0. The Colts at 4-2. The Texans and Jaguars both at 1-5. And the AFC West is the Kansas City Chiefs at 5-1. The Raiders at 3-2. The Broncos are 2-3, and the Chargers at 1-4. In the NFC East, the Cowboys lead the worst division in football with a 2-3 record, and at the rate they're going, it's going to be 2-4. The Eagles are 1-4-1. The Giants 1-5. The Skins are 1-5. Sorry, they're not the Redskins anymore. The Washington Football Team. The NFC North has the Bears at 5-1 and the Packers at 4-1. The Detroit Lions 2-3. The Vikings are 1-5. NFC South still might be the loaded division, along with the NFC West. The South has Tampa Bay on top at 4-2. The Saints at 3-2. The Panthers are 3-3. The Falcons, after their win, are 1-5. And in the NFC West, like I said, Seattle had to bye. They're 5-0. The Rams are 4-2. The Cardinals are 3-2, and looks like they're probably going to be 4-2 after this. And the Niners are 3-3. So that's where we stand right now. And if you ask me, I would tell you right now, if I had to pick you a Super Bowl matchup, it would for sure be the Seahawks and the winner of the Kansas City Tennessee AFC Championship game. And I'm not trying to be facetious, but I'm not sure which of those teams. It depends on which Tennessee team shows up to play the Kansas City Chiefs. Is it the team with Derrick Henry that rushes for 200 yards, or is it the team that tries to win a game by playing defense the entire time and ends up losing, 14 to 10 in one of those dud defensive struggles? I don't know which one it'll be for Tennessee, but right now I would tell you one of those two teams, and clearly the Seahawks. And that's with their defense playing terribly. The Seahawks defense has not been good through 5 games, and they've managed to be 5-0, and that's all Russell Wilson. If Russell Wilson does not win the MVP, something bad will have to happen for the rest of the season, because right now he's the leader in the clubhouse. I think he has done enough in 5 weeks to be so impressive that even Patrick Mahomes, nah, he's not that. Doesn't look like that. Nobody looks like Russell Wilson does right now. So, but that's where I would tell you right now. So that's your NFL snapshot. There are some big games coming up next week. I guess this would be week 7 in the NFL. If we look at the week 7 schedule, you will see that Pittsburgh and Tennessee, the two unbeaten teams in the AFC, are going to play in Nashville. That's an early CBS game, a 10 a.m. game here on the West Coast. You're also going to see Seattle and Arizona in a battle down in Glendale. That should be a good football game. San Francisco and New England, two teams going in opposite directions. We'll see if New England can snap back and how Cam Newton plays, and see if San Francisco is for real or if the Rams were just having a bad game this last game. Tampa Bay at Las Vegas. That should be an interesting football game. And then the Bears and the Los Angeles Rams are your Monday night game. That one could also be good. Anyway, we'll see what happens. So, also, World Series matchups here. We've got a World Series matchups. Anybody care? The World Series is set. It is going to be Tampa Bay and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Tampa Bay Rays, Los Angeles Dodgers. Game 1 will be Tuesday. That's tomorrow, 5:09 p.m. Pacific, because apparently we need those extra 9 minutes. 5:09 p.m. Pacific time on Fox. Tyler Glasnow's the starter for Tampa Bay, and Clayton Kershaw will be your starter for the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 1. Game 2, if you're interested, is Wednesday at 5:08 Pacific time on Fox, because on Wednesday night they only need 8 minutes extra. I don't know what that thing is. I think it's to give you time to finish watching your show that started at 4 and ended at 5, and then you can tune in. Or maybe it gives you that 8 minutes to get home if you get off at 5. I don't know exactly what the deal is with the 5:09 start time and the 5:08 start time, but that's what you got. My money's on the Dodgers. If you didn't see Game 7 between the Dodgers and the Braves, you missed it. Atlanta Braves up 3-2. They just taken the lead in the 4th inning. Runners on second and third. There's nobody out. The Dodgers infield is playing back. Going to concede the run, trying to prevent a bigger inning. The Braves have Nick Markakis at the plate. He hits a hard grounder to Dodgers third baseman Justin Turner. Turner throws it home. They catch Dansby Swanson in a rundown coming from third for 1 out. And as that rundown is happening, Austin Riley, who's running from second to third for the Braves, he can't make up his mind where he wants to go. Finally decides he's going to third. He gets caught trying to take third, and it's a double play. One of the most unconventional double plays you'll ever see. At the same time, Markakis, for some reason, all that stuff's going on, and he doesn't even get to second base. He stayed on first base. He didn't even take the extra base. He should have been running flat out and should have been on second by the time those 2 outs were made. Nope. He stays on first base. Next batter up grounds out. Dodgers get out of the inning. In the 5th, still 3-2 Braves, Freddie Freeman hits a ball deep to right field. Mookie Betts does what Mookie Betts does, which is leap up and rob him of a home run and preserve the score at 3-2. In the 6th, Enrique Hernandez hits a pinch hit solo home run to tie the game. And then in the 7th inning, Cody Bellinger hits what turns out to be the game winner, a solo shot to right, and the Dodgers win 4-3. Come from behind win for the Dodgers. So that's your matchup in the World Series. Dodgers Rays coming to you tomorrow night. Like I said, 5:09. That's on Fox. And I'm going with the Dodgers. If you got somebody different, let me know. But I think the Dodgers are the team to beat. They two teams with the best record in baseball, and that's the way it should be. I was bemoaning last week about the Houston Astros even having a chance to be in this thing because they had a losing record during the regular season. Um, but thank goodness they didn't make it. So hopefully that's hopefully everyone's with me. I think you're happier watching two good baseball teams who deserve to be where they are, playing baseball against each other. All right, so second half of our show is, as always, brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Go to BossKittyShop.com and check out the new Splatter Set. 5 skeins of fingering weight yarns custom dyed to celebrate those wonderfully gory, bloody, and ridiculous horror films from 74 to 84. Use the code Wear Your Mask at checkout and receive free U.S. domestic shipping on orders of $50 or more. Tune in to BossKittyLive.com at 6 p.m. this Wednesday for the start of Mittens Ass Backward Discount Game Show. What's that, you ask? Well, you'll have to tune in to find out. Tune in, BossKittyLive.com, 6 p.m. this Wednesday. That's Boss Kitty. Yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. So, second half of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about college football and Major League Soccer. And let's start that with the Timbers. If you're a Timbers fan. So the Timbers are still tied with Seattle Sounders for first in the Western Conference, 31 points apiece. Portland has played one more game than Seattle. Last night at Providence Park, the Timbers gave a goal to 16-year-old Christian Torres of LAFC in stoppage time, the 93rd minute to be exact, leading to a 1-1 draw, missing the golden opportunity to take the outright conference lead. They play on Wednesday night, the Timbers do, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get there and just verify. But the Timbers should be playing Seattle, the Sounders, on the 22nd. That will be Thursday night. So Thursday night, 7:30 from CenturyLink Field, Portland and Seattle for the outright lead in the conference, unless, of course, they tie, in which case they'll still be tied. And that's the problem with soccer, is the ties. So Timbers have another opportunity. Last time that Portland and Seattle played, Portland won 1-0 in Providence Park. The time before that, Portland won 2-1 at CenturyLink. Before that, it was 3-0 Seattle at Providence Park. So there's some history. These two teams have one of the longest rivalries in soccer, dating back to the North American Soccer League in the 70s. It's fun. It's fun soccer to watch. It's even more fun if there's actually fans. But you know, it's still fun to watch two teams get angry with each other. So let's talk about college football. We got a little bit of college football to talk about. It happened over the weekend. If you didn't see it, the game of the week, as they say, game of the year, because everything's a game of the year, right? Was Alabama, Georgia. And it was a good game through the half. Georgia led 24-20 at the half. And then Georgia did what every Alabama opponent does in the second half of a game against Alabama, which is fold. Just fold. Georgia scored 24 points in the first half, none in the second half, and they go on to lose 41-24 to Alabama. Alabama's 4-0. Georgia's 3-1. Smart Money says those two teams will play for the SEC title and have a rematch. And who knows how that'll go down, but Najee Harris for Alabama, 31 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown. They couldn't stop him, really. And Mac Jones was 24 of 32 for 417 yards, 4 touchdowns and interception. He is, in my opinion, like every Alabama quarterback you've ever seen play football, which means he can throw a football in college because he has a running game that can run all over you and a defense that can get the ball back. And he makes good decisions. He's a good enough college football quarterback. But when they get to the NFL, you can see the difference. They're not great NFL quarterbacks. And if you can name the last great NFL quarterback to come from Alabama, I will give you a free pass to listen to the show next week. But Stetson Bennett of Georgia, 18 of 40, 269 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Georgia, Bennett also had a fumble. He recovered his own, but he was in the second half looked again uncomfortable against the defense. It was I don't know. It was typical what I expect from the SEC, and when they play against Alabama, they play them tough for a half, maybe even into the third quarter, and then they just lay an egg. They just stop playing like they can't play football anymore. I don't even understand what happens or why it happens, but it happens, and it happens regularly in the SEC. Um, I I don't know. So other top ranked teams, Tennessee playing at home as a ranked team playing against Kentucky. The number 18 Tennessee Volunteers coming off their loss last week. They get hammered at home 34-7 by Kentucky. Both teams now 2-2. This was Tennessee's worst home loss as a ranked team in history, in their school's history. 27 points at home. They get pretty much blown out, manhandled by Kentucky. Also in the SEC, South Carolina beat 15th ranked Auburn. Both those teams are 2-2. South Carolina wins 30-22. It was a close game for most of the game. It was right there, but it South Carolina's defense came through when it needed to, stopped Bo Nix when they needed to. It was a good football game. If you didn't watch it, I watched the highlights and I watched some parts of the game, and it was definitely a South Carolina defense. And now we're watching, currently live, I'm watching Budda Baker of the Arizona Cardinals intercept Andy Dalton down near the goal line and return it all the way back to the Dallas 40. Arizona's still up 28-3. There's 13:07 to go in the fourth. So this one clearly looks like it's all Arizona, and Dallas looks inept offensively. Other scores: North Carolina, the number 5 team in the country, and they're only number 5 because the other teams haven't started playing football yet. Lost on the road to Florida State. Florida State jumps out to a 31-7 lead and holds on to win 31-28. Number 4, Notre Dame survived Louisville 12-7. They were trailing 7-6 in the third, and finally found a way to score and take the lead 12-7. Louisville's 1-4 in the ACC, and Notre Dame is 4-0. And if you think that the number 4 team in the country should beat a team that's 1-4, 12-7, playing at home, okay, then you know how overrated there are. A lot of these teams are. Number 1, Clemson. Number 1, Clemson, 73-7 in a conference game over Georgia Tech. That game was 52-7 at the half. What an utter embarrassment for Georgia Tech. Clemson's 5-0, number 1 team in the country. Georgia Tech is 2-3, and you know, begs the question. And I'm going to look it up right now. It begs the question: who did they beat? Right? Well, they beat Louisville, and they beat Florida State. Louisville almost beat Notre Dame, and Florida State, who did beat North Carolina. I don't know. There's that conference, the ACC, is the beneficiary of the fact that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 are not playing yet, because Notre Dame should not be the number 3 team in the country. Clemson probably is the number 1 team. I'll give you that one, but they also have number 11, quote unquote, Miami, and number 23, NC State. Okay. I don't know. I think that there's just a lot of overrated ACC teams this year. They are not very good, but who else are you going to rank? So that's where they are. I, gosh, I don't know. It was 73-7 was the largest win in a conference game in ACC history, and I would imagine so. 66-point win is huge. In other action, how about the Liberty Flames? Liberty is 5-0. Yeah, I'm not joking. Liberty is 5-0 after their win this weekend over Syracuse. And I got to tell you, I don't know what to make of Liberty and Hugh Freeze. It Wow. Liberty is 5-0 for the first time and playing at the Division I level. I don't know. Syracuse just pretty much laid an egg, I think, too, but I don't think that Liberty is that team. Hugh Freeze, who had recruiting issues, NCAA write-in issues at Ole Miss, and then for some reason there were some some moral issues, and for some reason, the good people at Liberty University said, "Oh, we can overlook all that, and you can come coach us in football." And now all of a sudden, they're good. And how does a team like Liberty become 5-0 and good? Now, granted, part of that's COVID related, and like I said, not everybody's playing yet, but it could also be that the coach you hire does some things that are probably not right. He got caught for him once before, and just saying that's how you get good players at a college called Liberty, um, who isn't traditionally good at football. Okay, other action that happened over the weekend. If you didn't see the Central Florida Memphis game, you missed a game. Final score: Memphis 50, Central Florida 49, in a tremendous a tremendous football game. There's 35 fourth quarter points. Memphis outscored Central Florida 21-14 in the fourth quarter. Memphis is 2-1. The Knights are 2-2. This game was all offense. It was so 1,501 yards of total offense, 798 total yards for Central Florida, 703 for Memphis. Both teams did well at every aspect. They ran well, they threw well, 601 yards passing for Central Florida. They did everything well. There was only one fumble for each team. Neither team looked terrible. The problem was the defenses looked terrible. They couldn't stop each other. So that's the problem you run into in that division. Central Florida now 1-2 in the conference, and Memphis is 1-1 in that conference. Navy at 3-0 leads the conference, along with SMU, who's 2-0, and Cincinnati, who's 1-0. Houston's also 1-0. Tulsa's 1-0, but those two teams have only played 2 games each. This division has been hit, or this conference, the American Athletic Conference, has been hit pretty hard with COVID postponements. So we'll see how much more gets played. There were a couple of games, 3 games in the top 10 that were postponed, and that's number 7 Oklahoma State was supposed to play at Baylor, number 8 Cincinnati at Tulsa, and number 10 Florida was supposed to host LSU, and those games were all postponed due to COVID. So we'll see when they get rescheduled, or if they get rescheduled. That there's a lot more of that seems to be happening. And as we enter the cold months, we're going to see how this all shakes out eventually. So now I'm watching DeAndre Hopkins run by and turn a man backwards for the Cardinals on a pass from Kyler Murray. He takes it and runs about 50 yards down to the Dallas 10. Oh, let's look at it. So it was from the 29-yard line. Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins, wide open across the middle, and he just turns the defensive back after he catches the ball and manages to gain another 30 yards, 40 yards after he catches the football. And it is all Cardinals in this one. Again, it's still 28-3. It's fourth quarter late. Well, not even late. There's still 10 minutes in this game. And DeAndre Hopkins has 2 catches for 73 yards tonight. That was only his second catch of the game. And it looks like, I don't know, looks to me like the Cowboys are probably going to end up giving up here shortly, because you can see the hands on the hips, the dejected look. They're turning. They're not looking. Other college football from the weekend. I think we covered all the college football we want to cover. So let's get to that trivia question answer, shall we? So I asked earlier, if you remember, I asked here's the whole thing. In 2014, the University of Oregon's Marcus Mariota had one of the most prolific seasons in college football history, throwing for 4,454 yards and rushing for 770 yards to total 5,224 yards from scrimmage. Only one person in Pac-12 history has more yards from scrimmage in one season. Who was it, and what year did he do it? If your answer is Anthony Gordon of Washington State last year, you are correct. Anthony Gordon last year accounted for 5,559 yards of total offense, 5,579 yards passing, and minus 20 yards rushing. If he had been any kind of a runner, he might have been able to eclipse the 6,000 mark. But this is the air raid offense that Mike Leach that was his last year in Washington State last year, and then now he's at Mississippi State. And you saw Mississippi State in that first game throw for 623 yards. First game in the SEC, they threw for 623 yards. Looked like that was going to work. Since then, they haven't been very good. We'll see if that air raid offense can work. But this is a team that throws the football on every down. But Anthony Gordon, Washington State in 2019 is your answer. And wow, look at that. The picture on the trivia answer didn't come up. Well, what do you know about that? Outstanding. I did have a wonderful picture of Anthony Gordon, and you guys are just going to have to take my word for it. So next week, next show, Friday, October 23rd, this coming Friday, 7 o'clock Pacific time. We're going to cover the NFL. We'll cover the Thursday night game this week. We'll look at a preview for what's coming up on Sunday. We'll cover NCAA football, the current standings, the fact that the Big Ten, we'll preview the Big Ten is going to play this coming weekend. So we'll preview those games and see if where your favorite top 10 or your rated, let's say ranked Big Ten teams are. Number 5, Ohio State plays. Number 8, Penn State plays. Michigan's playing. Minnesota's playing. They're all ranked in the top 25. We'll cover those games. We'll tell you who we think is going to win and why. We're also going to talk about the World Series. We'll have at least 2 games in, and they should be in the middle of playing Game 3 on Friday. So we're going to do all that stuff. We'll keep you informed on all the news that we think is interesting. # Get Your Own Show. Again, we're live streaming on YouTube every weekend. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports. And when I say every weekend, by the way, it may not be every weekend. I mean, we do our best. But it may be a Monday. It may be a Friday. We'll be hovering around the weekend. How about that? We are near weekend-like. Let's put it that way. Every weekend on YouTube, we're on Twitter at Lamm Sports. On Facebook, under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can email lammsports@gmail.com. Please go check out the webpage, lammsports.com. And leave us a message. Send us an email. Whatever you want to do, tweet us. Just do something. Tell us you like us. Tell us you don't like us. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what you'd like to hear more of. Tell me you want to hear lacrosse scores, and I guarantee that I will address it. I may not tell you lacrosse scores, but I'll at least talk about it. We want to thank our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on Friday.